And welcome into the second half of the Week 7 Countdown Show. I'm your host, Ian Power, joined as always by Matt Vitale. We're here today breaking down the second half of the slate for you. There is a lot of news today, so we'll get to that in a second. You will notice that today we are not being joined by Frankie or Jeff. Jeff had prior commitments, so he was unable to join us today. Frankie will be coming back to the Thursday show soon, though, so if you like his unique brand of sports takes, don't fear, he will be back to being a regular occurrence on the show maybe next week.
Yeah, we also stress the word unique there.
Yeah, you'll see why later. And speaking of later, make sure that you tune in through all of our breakdowns for our starts and money picks, which we'll give you guys at the end of the show, as well as our stashing defense of the week, the defense that you want to stash for next week so you can get that juicy matchup and not have to pay any fab bucks for it. A little bit of news, though. Or I say a little bit. A lot of news, though. I'll start with what I think is the biggest news of the day. Buccaneers, Raiders, and Seahawks, Cardinals have flipped spots. Seahawks Cardinals was a 4:25 game. It is now the Sunday night game. Buccaneers Raiders has been flexed to 4:25. Also, this won't affect our viewers because this video is going to be popping up after Thursday Night Football, but it looks like Sterling Shepard just got declared active for tonight. So that's a little bump for the Giants. But this was done due to potential COVID situation for the Raiders. The Raiders had to send their entire offensive line home due to Trent Brown. Was it Trent Brown getting COVID or being exposed to COVID?
Testing positive for COVID.
So Trent Brown has it, and the offensive line was exposed via Trent Brown.
Yeah.
So, obviously, it sounds like they expect the game to play, but they flex it here so they have the ability to move around this Buccaneers-Raiders game in case it can't go on Saturday. It gives them more scheduling flexibility. I really, before we get into the rest of the news, because this doesn't affect the Seahawks Cardinals at all, but just I'm just getting a better Sunday night game. How does this change your outlook? Obviously, we haven't talked about this game yet, but how does this change your outlook on the Buccaneers Raiders? Does this basically make the Raiders unplayable for you if their entire offensive line is potentially out of this game?
Oh, yeah. I mean, even if the other guys are able to come back on this one, Trent Brown's a huge loss.
Yeah.
As Patriots fans, we know the skill of Trent and how good he was for this offensive line. He's a big piece of that. Their offense has been gelling, and I think without him, that Buccaneers defense, which we saw show up
a couple good guys on that line.
Yeah, there's a couple of players to worry about on that line, and I think this just tanks some value. I think maybe Waller can get out of there with some value, or I am avoiding
I don't like
Josh
Jacobs at all now.
Yeah, Jacobs has been a little suspect lately, and this losing one of your best linemen is going to make that worse.
Yeah.
And you're already running against a team that's good against the run. This is a bad matchup that went to a worse matchup.
Yeah, we'll get into that in a little bit more detail when we get to that matchup. But some other news. This one is, you wouldn't think the Jets are big news, but Breshad Perriman has been upgraded to full practice. Darnold actually has a chance he's going to play this weekend, and Jamison Crowder is a DNP. I mention that because, if Crowder doesn't play and Darnold is back, you could easily see Perriman step into Crowder's role. Crowder has been, even though the Jets are disgusting, a usable fantasy option this year. Solid wide receiver 2/3, depending on the matchup. So if you need a spot start this week, good chance Breshad Perriman is sitting out there in a lot of leagues, and he might be having Darnold throw him the football this weekend with no Crowder to steal targets. Godwin, Evans, and Lenny all were limited today. It sounds like they're all expected to play, and they're just managing their reps in practice. Jonnu Smith surprisingly upgraded to a full practice, so hopefully you didn't spend too much fab on Fursker, because I don't know if you're going to get to use him this weekend, barring a re-injury.
Mm-hmm.
A.J. Brown, speaking of re-injury, unclear why, but he was a DNP today. I was looking into the beat reporters for this one, and it seems like no one's really sure why he didn't practice, but he was absent from practice today. So that's something to watch, given that he was at practice yesterday. If it was a re-injury, it puts his status for this weekend in doubt. Mixon, DNP for the second straight day. Do you think he's missing 2 practices in a row? Do you think there's any chance he suits up this weekend?
I think there's a chance he suits up, but if I'm a Mixon owner, just leave him on your bench. Like, as I said last episode, I personally have dealt with Mixon through his banged up games. They're not pretty.
Sure.
Like, this is still not like a great this offense is still trying to gel. I'm not comfortable rolling out a banged up Mixon in this matchup. I would rather just sit him. Either start Gio if you got him to cover it, or just look elsewhere.
Fair. Yannick Ngakoue traded to the Ravens. Typically, we don't talk defense on this show unless it's just this team is very poor against this particular defensive versus offensive matchups and things like that. But this is an impact enough player traded to an already great fantasy defense that I'm like, ugh. I don't know who I want to really start against those Ravens now. That's a scary fantasy defense. And real-life defense.
Yeah. This should be an upgrade, but, I mean, we have seen that the Vikings were struggling, even with Ngakoue on that line.
Like, the Ravens are a defense that already has an identity, though. Like, there wasn't a lack of leadership or anything there. Like, he's coming in to add to an already great situation, whereas the Vikings are trying to rebuild their defense after getting rid of Xavier Rhodes.
Yeah, definitely they are. Like I said, this is a step up for defense, and I don't think this is going to detract from their defense.
Yeah.
I think it's just more of like Ngakoue was supposed to be a big boost to that line, and the Vikings D, as we now know, is not very much, pretty much paper thin.
Yeah.
So I see this as maybe he can make some impact. I think it does give them depth, and it makes it more scary. But it's either a wash at worst or an upgrade at worst for people playing that defense.
I think the bright side to this, though, is we were worried about the Vikings defense gelling and becoming good at some point this year. That take's gone right out the window. Stream everything against the Vikings. They're going to be terrible.
Yeah, minor tick up for their receivers and just like a slight hair down for Dalvin. And Dalvin's not going to get affected, but they're not going to be up in that many games. They're going to need to air it out.
Yeah. That AFC North, man, their defenses are so good. And Baltimore Ravens managers are going to get to see the benefits of him immediately because they're on a bye this week. So he should be through with the whole COVID wait period before joining a new team. I mean, there's a chance that he's going to be fully active for that defense for Week 8. Hopefully, you guys don't have a lot of players that have a heavy AFC North presence left on their roster because don't want to deal with that. Mike Thomas missed practice again today. Likely going to be a game time decision this weekend. He is no longer being disciplined unless you count his hammy acting up as just his body disciplining him. But he just can't get it together. With the sort of the trend with players this year, he is just one injury after another. I don't feel as bad for him because cold cocking a teammate ain't cool, but
yeah, it sucks seeing another first round pick not returning value. You look at I look at all the people who do all the research and provide not only information for us, but people that are also doing similar things where they're trying to give people the best advice for fantasy.
Yep.
And I can only imagine the hell this must be if this is your first season in your first year playing fantasy.
Brand new. Try this fantasy thing. It's great.
You come in and let's say you got the high pick, you're like, wow, man, and you are 1 or 2, maybe 4 or 5, and you just go and you're you get Saquon or CMC, you get some guy who's the banner for fantasy out there, and maybe you get later and you go for Michael Thomas and you're I'm gonna try to do wide receivers because I like wide receivers, and it's just God, there's some fans that might not be returning to the game next year, and I hate to see that because this is a very atypical. There's years past I've been man, there's been a lot of injuries this year. This is kind of annoying. This year is the injury year. Oh man.
Yeah, this is brutal. I hope he plays this weekend. I think he makes an entire offense better, but at the same time, I could see him not playing. I don't think that the Saints necessarily need him this weekend. So, 6 of one, half dozen of another. Maybe they just tell them to take a week. Shooting for the playoffs and not really pay attention to anything else because I really just don't think that he's needed to beat Carolina.
Right.
So that'll do it for the news for today. Though, you ready to dive into this segment?
Let's go.
All right. Well, before we do, make sure to follow us on socials. Hit that subscribe button. Ring the notification bell. That way you know whenever new content comes out right away. And make sure if you like our content to share our videos with literally everyone. Hand out flyers, send those weird chain emails to everyone in your inbox, like whatever you can think of to spread the good word of the Fantasy 4-Pack, because we just want to help you guys do better, and the best way for us to do that is by getting more exposure so that we can put out more content. Also, tune in next week as we are changing up our production schedule a little bit. We'll be doing the entire countdown show on Thursday now, as opposed to splitting it in half. And we have a brand new episode coming on Wednesday for you guys. Tune in to find out what it is. All right, picking up where we left off. Dallas Cowboys, Washington football team. Amazed they still haven't picked a name. 46-point over/under.
I just saw like a quick article from a local beat, just a local paper, and saying that they might honestly be the Washington football team next year. Like, I was like, please God, no.
Way to misread a room.
Like, I feel like at some point the NFL has to step in and like, can you just pick something? Like, I don't care.
Or just make Dan Snyder sell the team. Well, reports
I would love
scumbag.
that.
So.
I would love that. Like, especially with all the stuff that's happened before this, and then everything that came out with this. Like, you don't get brownie points for taking down an offensive name this late. Like, It's 2020. Like, they've been calling for the head of that team name, like for the Redskins name, for a while now, and I'm not giving you any points for doing it.
Congratulations. You did what was expected of you.
Yeah. When you were forced.
The bar was on the floor and somehow you barely got under it. It's like, you got over it. Like, yeah, I hate this so much. Like, there's plenty of billionaires out there who could run this team better. Like, just force them to sell the team to someone else. Maybe a billionaire that has a little more goodwill, like Elon Musk or someone, and just let that team become the meme team.
Oh, I'd love that. Like the Tesla team,
Washington Teslas.
I mean, it'd be great. Somehow, Elon just makes more money.
He's a money printing machine, that man. This game, however, is not going to be a money printing machine. Well, I guess it could be. The Cowboys have shown that they are incapable of stopping anyone from doing anything.
Mm-hmm.
So, as Kyler showed last week, when they blew the Cowboys out with him completing 9 passes. So, I don't really know what to expect from this. I mean, I do know what to expect. I guess when I say I don't know what to expect because I'm looking at the line here. It's a 46-point over/under. The Washington football team are actually 1-point favorites. That's how bad Dallas is. Like, the Washington is like 1-point favorites. Like, my brain just kind of stopped when I saw that line. I was like, that can't be right. It is.
Yep, it is. Dallas was already inept on defense, and I don't think losing Dak is going to make them any better. I think there's
a lot of drama in their locker room too, saying the coaching is inept.
Yeah, this is just McCarthy. Hot start. Granted, you can't predict.
It's almost like we had a lot of examples of McCarthy being a very poor coach going back several years on some other team in the NFC. If only I could remember. Well, I'm sure it's nothing. It was probably some other McCarthy. But
yeah,
you're telling me that he was the coach of the Green Bay Packers and coached them into the ground?
Yeah, and he has prior experience, and he shows you that when his quarterback goes down, their team basically turns into a laughingstock. It's not like their quarterback goes down and they limp their way maybe into the playoffs or put up a respectable showing, or like you get to see some of their young guns get to play. Like, there's nothing good that comes out of him when his quarterback goes down. It just, the team turns into shambles. They start with infighting. Like,
it's not often that I wish for the clapper to come back, but I was vocal about this when the move happened. And I was like, somehow they downgraded. What?
Yeah, much to the chagrin of Frankie. I mean, even though he was an Eagles fan, but no, like this defense was bad, and as we know, a defense only gets worse when it has to play more. And when Andy Dalton keeps turning the ball over or keeps having to punt the ball, that defense is going to be tired and bad. Like that's fantasy. You said this is not a money machine. That's a fantasy printing press for the offense on the other side.
Yeah, I mean, but the offense on the other side is Kyle Allen. Like, so I was talking about this before the show. Like, I want to start Kyle. I am starting Kyle Allen actually because of me rostering Dak in 2 leagues and Andy Dalton being worthless. I am being forced to stream Kyle Allen in 2 leagues this week, and I feel dirty. Like I'm doing something I shouldn't. Like it's illegal. Like why is Kyle Allen in there? Like I feel like I'm starting like a backup quarterback, like knowing that there's another quarterback ahead of him, but there isn't. It's just Kyle Allen playing for the Washington football team.
You feel like you're starting
I really like Terry this week. I don't think there's a way Terry doesn't go off against this Dallas team. Antonio Gibson should have a nice day.
I'll at least say for him and J.D. McKissick have nice little floors to them.
Yeah, I think they have like a 7 to 10 point floor in half or full point PPR.
Like I think when this game's over, neither of those players. They might put up very unsexy stat lines, but you might be like, "Hey, they didn't lose me my week."
Yeah. Are you starting the Washington defense in this one?
They looked good to start the year. Not so much lately.
Like, think about all of the turnovers. I mean, Dallas could put up 30 against them, and also like Andy Dalton could like hand the ball over twice through the air. Zeke's been putting it on the ground like a pro. Like, do you just target the turnovers in this game because Dallas has been very, very generous with them?
I want to, but I'm not going to just because it's Andy Dalton. He looked really bad.
Yeah.
Does a week of him turn him back into his game manager self where he's just going to kind of throw it out there.
Sure.
And you do have to remember, he has elite options. Like, there's still elite talent on all of it.
Watching him last week.
Like, this should be a team where he can close his eyes, throw it straight down the field, and one of his talented players was just going to come down with it.
Yeah.
So
you're not starting the Washington football team defense then. Are there any Cowboys you're not starting in this one? I guess Gallup is probably the big question here, but like especially for you because you were actually rostering Gallup in a few leagues, and in one of them you aren't getting Darius Slayton tonight. Or potentially not getting Darius Slayton tonight. I haven't actually checked to see if he's playing or not.
Oh no, he lost his injury tag. He's fine.
That's good. So you're getting Darius Slayton. You're losing AJ Brown. Like if AJ Brown goes down, are you plugging in Michael Gallup or are you just going?
I might have to because of my just like for that team specifically. I might have to, or I have to make a very quick trade. I might just have to eat it and play Gallup. Gallup is he's not just a dart throw for me. He is a blindfold dart throw. You could nail a bullseye and he comes down with an 80-yard. He just run one of the house for you. Yeah, because he still is Michael Gallup.
Yeah.
But man, do I have... I was going to say, the confidence I have in that man is near the floor. Like, almost dropped him. Like, he is the first on my cutting board right now. If something pops up that I like and I need more, like, man, he was close. Very close to being dropped this week.
Fair. Dalton Schultz, I'm not starting him if I have another option. You might not, given how bad tight end is. So I think he's still okay as a spot start just because tight end sucks. But, I'd rather start Jared Cook over him. I'd rather start Hayden Hurst. I'd rather start Austin Hooper. I'd potentially rather start Logan Thomas if he plays in this game.
Dawson Knox?
No. Dawson Knox isn't a real person.
He's playing the Jets, though.
It doesn't matter. Dawson Knox isn't a real person. He doesn't get target volume. But there is a slew of tight ends that I would consider over Dalton Schultz this week. Next game on the slate is a fun one, and one that I think a lot of people are looking forward to. Detroit Lions, Atlanta Falcons, 55.5 point line. Falcons are 2.5-point favorites in this one. This should be, and I emphasize should be, because the Lions defense did look better last week, but we don't know if that's they were playing the Jaguars or they actually improved. But this should be a shootout. I mean, the Falcons are just bad. The Falcons can't stop anyone, so the Lions side of the ball should be able to move the ball at will, through the air, on the ground, whatever they want to do. Do you believe the Falcons can live up to their end of the bargain and run it back enough to keep this one scoring?
Yeah, I honestly have this one being just you're not too hard to think about.
So you don't believe that Detroit defense's revelations last week? That was a Jacksonville-colored mirage.
Yeah, like I said, as we've seen with Jacksonville and the not full-on bickering, but Chark having some not mincing his words about the production that the offense is putting up.
I believe they called it being blunt.
Yes, I am looking at that as a mirage game. I think Falcons are just too good. Like I said, if Julio Jones plays, we've seen that this offense is a completely different offense.
Yeah.
So
they look really good.
If Julio misses the game, I change my perspective. But while Julio is still going to be playing this game, I think this is going to be just back and forth. Like, I think I would take the over on the 55 here. Like,
he was limited at practice the last couple of days, but I believe he's going to play. There's nothing that suggests that he's not going to. It sounds like there's managing his practice reps, which they've done for Julio since the beginning of time.
Right. Like I said, he's a veteran, and him being limited is basically the same thing to me as a rookie being full participant.
Sure.
I take it the same way.
Yeah, for me, I really like this game. I'm trying to target it pretty heavily in DraftKings and in redraft. I mean, you'll see it later when we go through this. I think we have everyone on the Lions as a start or a money pick. This should be finally Kenny Galladay's breakout game, of this season. Obviously, Kenny Galladay is a broken out player. It's not like he's still like a rookie prospect, but like with how bad that Falcons defense is, combined with the Falcons' ability to keep up in the scoring department, I could see Kenny having a big day. I'm fine with Marvin Jones as a flex option this week because while he has been useless for fantasy managers to this point, there's always the chance that he just comes down with one or two balls in the right spot in the field and suddenly like 80 and a touchdown.
So just to kind of pose it out there, somebody might be making a tough start this week, especially with new injuries. If you're counting Michael Thomas, AJ Brown, guys like that.
Sure.
You're looking on your bench, and you got Marvin Jones, you got Michael Gallup. Who are you starting?
I'll probably target the matchup and play Marvin Jones. Because at least with Marvin Jones, I know he's been a competent receiver in the past, and I trust Matthew Stafford more than Andy Dalton.
Fair.
So, and I trust that Falcons defense to be worse than that Washington football team defense. So, I'll play the matchup in that one. Falcons side of the ball, who are you rolling out there? Obviously Julio and Calvin and Matty Ice. Outside of the big three, who are you targeting?
Like I said, if Julio's playing, It's a weird one, but if Julio's playing, I'm fine starting Gage.
Sure.
Which is normally the reverse, is when the star's out, you want to start the guys who are backups, so they usually have a more prominent role.
Sure.
But as we know, Julio drives this ship, so Julio being there, I'm in on Gage.
The energizer bite for that offense.
Right. I think you can talk me into mostly anybody on the Falcons right now.
Okay.
Like Hurst, he doesn't look great, but you just lost Schultz as a quality option. There's not a lot of other people out there because just that's the way tight end works. Yeah. So if you got to start Hurst, I'm not against it.
Fair enough. Next game on our list here is going to be the Las Vegas Raiders and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. This game looked like it was going to be an interesting one. It has become far less interesting to me. It still has a decently high over-under, 52 points, which I do find a little odd, but I guess Vegas expects them to still be able to, keep up in the scoring department. Mm-hmm. And maybe it's just going to be heavily slated towards the Buccaneers. Who knows? But What are you looking for in this game? Is there anything you believe you can trust in this game?
Ronald Jones has earned my trust on this one. Chris Godwin. Evans, I feel like he's going to be in a spot where if you've got him, you're going to have to start him. With the news that's going on about this, the Raiders having issues with their line, I am a big fan. I probably, I'd start with the defensive confidence, as probably a lot of people are now after last week.
Oh, yeah. I think they're a great defense this week.
Yeah, like I said, this is another one I think you can talk me into most anybody on the Bucs except for Leonard Fournette.
Fair. It does seem like it's Ronald Jones' job to screw up right now, so you never want to be banking on that for one of your players to get points.
Yeah.
I don't know if I would start Rob Gronkowski this week. I think for me, I'm still just starting. I'm fine with Brady. I'm starting the 2 wide receivers, and I'm starting Ronald Jones, and then the defense. But unless I really have to, unless I'm in a really bad spot, I'm leaving everyone else on the bench. Raiders side of the football, who are you rolling out? Like let's operate under the assumption, at least for now, that they're going to have most of their offensive line back. I don't think you can stream Carr in this one anymore.
Oh, you definitely can't. I would not. Even before this news, I was off Carr for this matchup. This just made Barrows.
I was on him for the total, but
yeah, like the total makes it look like I said. This one feels like an under to me.
Yeah.
I think this is just going to be Tampa driving the ball, like just driving the whole game.
Sure.
Waller, I'm fine starting him. Like you said, he's too close.
He's a must start. How shallow tight end is about how good Waller is. Like, I'm at the point where I'm willing to push. Actually, I just made a trade for this in one of my leagues where it was a pretty big trade, but part of the trade was I shipped Kittle away and got Waller back. He's passed his bye. He is officially an elite tight end. It's time we start talking about him, at least in conjunction with Mark Andrews, if not Kittle and Kelsey, because he is clearly their first, second, and third read.
Yeah, like I said, I was talking about this before the season got started. I like Waller just because Carr he peppers that tight end position with targets. Yeah. So whoever's there, especially a talented tight end like Waller, I love him. So he's probably a must start. And for me, as far as the rest of the Raiders team, it is Josh Jacobs if you need him.
I'm trying to sit him this week.
Yeah, he's a guy you have to find. I think you have to get creative to set him, just because of how much usage he gets. So he should have a low floor. Like his floor should be okay.
It should be in existence.
Yeah,
it's not going to be great. You're not going to be happy about it, most likely.
Yeah, I think the big thing is he loses a lot of the ceiling play, which is what you need from guys like that you drafted.
I feel like playing Miles Sanders against the Steelers a few weeks ago when it was like, well, you start him because of the volume, but I hope he falls forward into the end zone. I don't know. Like it's going to feel like that for Jacobs managers, especially if more offensive linemen than just Trent Brown missed this one.
Yeah, like I said, you're hoping he can rip one off for a long game, but like he hasn't really been doing that. And like I said, he moves way down my.
He's a running back who plays better when the Raiders are in the lead.
Yeah.
I don't see the Raiders taking the lead in this one unless the Buccaneers just forget to show up at the stadium somehow or something like that. I don't know.
But Brady just lobs up a couple lollipops so they can run back.
Yeah. Brady has an old man game. Yeah, can't throw the ball. Next game on the list here, AFC West showdown, Kansas City Chiefs, Denver Broncos, 46-point over-under. They are giving the Broncos no shot in this one. They are 9.5-point underdogs. This despite the fact that Drew Lock is going to be playing this week. Noah Fant was just upgraded to a full practice today, so he's going to be playing this week. They're going to have, aside from Courtland Sutton, their full offense out there this week. I do like some of the options in this game. I mean, the Chiefs play decent defense, but they're not so tough that I'm scared of them. To me at least, I'm fine if you really need it. I'm fine streaming Drew Lock. I think that Drew Lock, with all of his weapons out there, might be able to have a good day for you. He's a very high-risk play. Let's be like, he could have an 8-point day for you. But the Chiefs are going to score. That the line shows this. Drew Lock's going to have to throw to keep up. I think the play I'm most interested in on the Broncos side of the ball, now that he's healthy again, is Noah Fant.
Yeah, I mean, the Chiefs have been, especially last year, coming out of last year, they were very good against the pass.
Yeah.
They're going to put up points, and I think they're going to put up points fast. I don't, like I said, I think that the Broncos basically going to be, this is going to be similar to last week.
21st against the tight end this season per DraftKings.
Right. I just look at this game like this is going to be very similar to the Bucs game, but with a lesser defense. So I think there's a way for the Broncos to score, so I'm a lot more interested in most of their options.
Sure.
I think Fant is a solid play this week. Yeah, so I would start him with confidence.
Who else in this one are you looking at on the Broncos side of the ball? There's no sneaky Chiefs. We won't bother talking about them. But who else on the Broncos side of the ball are you either starting with confidence or willing to give a flyer to?
I don't think you get too cute in this one. You're probably, for both the running backs, like if you're a Philip Lindsay owner, you might want to. I wouldn't be against flexing him in this one.
Sure.
And Melvin has been practicing. He's over that strep throat they kept him out of last week.
Now he just has the DUI.
He just has the guillotine of a DUI hanging over him, where the league has been quiet on what they're actually going to be doing. Managers for this, you're hoping that they just come out and say, we're going to do this at this time. Even if you know a suspension's coming, at least you can plan around it.
Yeah.
Not knowing anything, he's basically in limbo. So you play him and you hope he doesn't get suspended right before the game, which I doubt would happen because they want to let teams know when they're not going to have some of their premium talent. So for this one, I'm rolling out Melvin Gordon, not expecting a huge amount from him, but he is still a talented running back.
Kansas City 11th against the run.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think this one's for me where I'm the only person that I'm just hard sitting is Jerry Jeudy. I mean, Kansas City's 5th against the pass. They're decently, or 5th against wide receivers. They're able to limit them. I don't know that Jerry Jeudy is talented enough that he can overcome that.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not playing Jerry Jeudy in this one. I might play Tim Patrick in daily fantasy just because he's very cheap, but redraft him, sit the wide receiver this one. I'm playing the running backs and the tight end. Next game after them, it's our hometown Patriots playing against the 49ers. 43.5 point total. I mean, that doesn't really surprise me. They're two defensive teams. Patriots look bad on offense. They just don't have... Julian Edelman finally looks old. And, their offensive line didn't play well last week. They're running more running plays than anyone else in football, basically, at this point, whether it be quarterback runs or running back runs. But, the Patriots, I'm interested in Cam Newton and Damian Harris. That's basically maybe James White, but that's basically on the Patriots side of the ball. Who are you playing on the 49ers side of the ball? Or are there any Patriots that I'm overlooking that you're interested in this week?
I wanna be in on some of these wide receivers, but
I mean, N'Keal Harris is made of stone.
Yeah, I don't know where he is. This Damiere Byrd, I don't want to have to trust Damiere Byrd, especially with how little their Pats are passing right now. And the Niners are still a solid defense. They're not anywhere close to where they should be, but they're still solid.
Yeah,
as far as the Niners side of the ball, I'm starting Debo.
You're starting Debo. You're starting Kittle. What about some of the tertiary plays? Are you trusting Jerick McKinnon in this one? What are you doing with Brandon Ayuk, who could be a usable fantasy asset in this one?
On this one, I honestly, just because the Patriots, their defense is legit. Ayuk might be a sneaky play, I think, because if
he's not going to get Gilmore,
That's basically it. But that doesn't make me any happier just because you're not getting one of the best corners in the league. They still have other very good corners on this team.
Sure.
So McKinnon, he could produce, but the Patriots really haven't been playing to their philosophy of bend, don't break.
Yeah.
We're not seeing last season where, Chubb's going off for 100 and they're still pulling out wins and stuff like that.
Sure.
They're stopping running backs as well. So this is just not a sexy game for fantasy. This is not a printing press from fantasy points.
Yeah, for me, I think that Jerick McKinnon's ceiling is like a low-end RB2 this week, where it's like, he's fine if you need him, but don't expect a lot out of him. This isn't going to be unless he like breaks up a big run, this is going to be just like small chunks that are going to tally up to something okay at the end of the game, most likely. Last one of the afternoon games, Jaguars-Chargers, 49-point over-under. Chargers are 7.5-point favorites. Honestly, doesn't seem like they're big enough favorites based on how we saw them play last week. On the Chargers side of the ball, I'm starting Herbert, I'm starting Keenan Allen, I'm starting Mike Williams, I'm starting whichever Chargers running back you feel more confident in this week. We saw Justin Jackson be the guy last week. I still don't think we have a large enough sample size to declare him king until Eckler comes back. But I'm starting most Chargers. I'll start Hunter Henry if I need a tight end. On the Jaguars side of the ball, we touched on it earlier. I wouldn't call it dysfunction, but there is a little bit of, blame assigning. I guess I'll say going on in their locker room.
Yeah,
there's a little bit of
friction.
Infighting. Yeah, friction's a good word for it.
Yeah, it's not full on. It's not Michael Thomas level where they're slugging each other in the locker room, but
this isn't Odell Beckham calling out his quarterback by name.
Yeah,
this
is just a team that's underperforming, and it gets the players. It makes sense.
Sure.
These guys have played their whole lives. Most likely on winning teams, playing to the top level, and then they get to the NFL and they're just they're on the Jags. So
yeah.
Welcome to being a Jag. So going against the Chargers,
it feels like yesterday they were a winning team.
Yeah,
that's because it was.
It was. Man.
What was it, like 2 years ago they were challenging the Patriots for the control of the division?
Yep.
And then Doug Marrone just accidentally lit the fuse to that time bomb, and now they're like, we're the worst team in football.
Yeah.
Or they would be if it wasn't for
do not go look at their first and second round picks that they've made in the past I think it was 4 years or something like that. How they have one. It's after Leonard Fournette got cut, people were just looking at that team. It's how do they mess up this bad?
It's impressive.
As far as starts for this game, you're starting Chark.
You're starting Chark and Robinson.
You're starting Robinson. If you need him, Laviska Shenault, I think he'll have a little bit. Like I said, he's shown some low end consistency.
Sure.
He had a little bit of a bad game last week, but then again, the Jacksonville Jaguars had a bad game last week. Sure. It was a team wide thing, so I think he'll give you a nice little 8 to 10 point game. He'll buoy you. Maybe he gets that pop game finally, but he's a nice little flex play, wide receiver 3 play for guys if you need him. Past that, I'm benching Minshew. He's been great for fantasy, but I'm benching him until that team gets right. Other than that, that's pretty much it.
There are a few other ones that I'm willing to roll out there in this one. I'm willing to play Keelan Cole this week if I need a wide receiver start. And then as far as DFS is concerned, it sounds like Tyler Eifert's probably going to miss this one. The Chargers are decently soft against the tight end. On DFS, if you're looking for a tight end punt play this week, James O'Shaughnessy is $2,600. So I am perfectly okay with you rolling out James O'Shaughnessy this week if you need, if you need to save some salary somewhere. Maybe you're trying to squeeze in Alvin Kamara. I think you can do much worse than him as a punt play. Because at 26, he needs 2 catches for 10 yards to pay off.
Yeah, he doesn't need much. And they're 18th against it, so it's nothing great, but
it's soft enough where you're like, yeah, sure.
Yeah, like I said, it's just, if you want to gamble there, it's not a bad gamble.
Yeah, and that's obviously reliant on Eifert not playing. If Eifert plays, not really interested in him, but yeah, aside from that, there's no one else that I'm really considering on that team. And then to the game that we were all keeping our eye on, and sadly, it's no longer on the afternoon slate, so you can't target it for DFS again. I follow a lot of big names in DFS. Oh boy, there was a riot on Twitter when this came down. People were big mad.
Yeah.
This was going to be a fantasy bonanza Free points for everyone. There's Oprah Winfrey up there. Just you get points and you get points. Everybody gets points. Move to Sunday night. No one gets points.
Yeah, no, it definitely sucks.
I get why they did it, but because the rest of the afternoon games, you're not excited about any of those. This is easily the best afternoon game. It just sucks that we don't get it on the main slate now. But for redraft, awesome game. 56-point over/under. The Seahawks are 3.5-point favorites. This one should be a fantasy bonanza. I think the Seahawks are going to come out slinging. I think Kyler's going to come out slinging. In most formats, these are the 1 and 2 quarterbacks. I heard a stat today. I forget where, but Kyler Murray is the only quarterback in standard scoring to have a top 12 finish for the first 6 weeks. You are excited if you can get a piece of this game. I think that Christian Kirk's a great spot start this week. I love me some DeAndre Hopkins. I guess I'm fine with Kenyon Drake, just from a volume perspective, but I don't want to be fine with him.
Yeah, this is
Kyler could score 50 this week. Russ could score 50. You're like, who? It's quicker to say, who are you sitting in this game? Is there any obvious option that you aren't pivoting towards, or are you just start your studs, and if you need a flex start, grab Andy Isabella?
Yeah, I think I'm starting all the. I don't think there's anyone that's obvious that you should sit in this game. I think this is more of just if you need a fringe play, I look on the Arizona side of the ball.
Yeah.
Maybe you start Isabella. Maybe you start.
I mean, Kyler did target Isabella downfield a couple times against the Cowboys, and they just didn't connect.
Yeah, like I said, I loved Isabella coming out of the draft. I was hoping he came to the Patriots, but he landed in a spot that clearly wants to use him, and I'm glad that he's finally getting that use. Sadly, it's at the cost of Larry Fitzgerald, but he at some point.
Great if we had Andy Isabella, if we had a receiver on this team, that'd be awesome.
Yeah, it's if we maybe used a first round pick on a wide receiver or something like that.
No, you can't do that.
No,
That'd be ridiculous. Offensive lineman.
Tuba players.
Yeah, I'm targeting Andy Isabella and Chase Edmonds if I need a flex start in this one. Christian Kirk's in play for me. I wouldn't start Larry. I'm not touching either defense. This one should be a fun one, though. I'm very excited to watch. As a fan, I'm excited to watch this game. Well, that'll do it for the Sunday slate of games. Before we wrap up the show, let's jump over to the starts and the money picks of the week. To catch everyone up on our new records, I went 2 for 2 last week, or 2 for 4 last week. 1 for 1 in my, or 1 and 1 of my monies and 1 and 1 of my starts. So I am now at 13 and 24 on the season. Vitaly also went 2 and 4, same as I did, 1 and 1 and 1 and 1. You are at 14 out of 24. Frankie has advanced to 8 and 16. I'm sorry, Frankie didn't make picks last week. So Frankie has stayed at 8 and 16 because he logged no picks last week. And Jeff went 3 for 4. Jeff has moved to 7 and 12. So
some good.
What I see there is we gotta really kick it in because Jeff is nipping at our heels, and if Frankie logged picks, he might be too. No, Frankie did log picks this week, but I'm not really scared of Frankie picking up ground this week.
We'll see why.
Do you want to lead off with Frankie's picks, and then I'll follow up with Jeff's?
Boy, do I. Alrighty. So Frankie, for his starts, went with Singletary against the Jets. I don't hate it.
I hate it just because I hate Singletary.
Yeah.
Especially Singletary with Zach Moss back.
Yeah, like I said, he's going to need to score one from outside the 20s to...
Or he's going to need to be running free inside the 20s, or outside the 20s,
Yeah.
You better be all of their yardage until they get to the red zone.
Yeah, it can be ugly with Moss back, how they like to divide up his backfield. And then you got Teddy Bridgewater against New Orleans. I like Teddy, but New Orleans does have a solid defense and playing up to their caliber, but the Saints could just sit on the ball.
It could go either way for me.
Honestly. I won't he's a stallion. If he puts up a 25-point game, I won't be too shocked. But if he puts up a 10, I won't be shocked either.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
For his monies, guy I talked about that I would start. Not a huge amount of confidence, but Deebo Samuel against the Patriots for $5,000.
5K seems like it's about right for him.
It's a nice little play.
I don't think you're getting much of a bargain for him facing the Patriots defense. That's the biggest thing that I don't like about that.
Yeah, I'd like to see him in the 4K range, but I mean, it is Deebo. But temper expectations, he's going to probably draw top coverage, so Gilmore's going to be blanketing him. And now the fun pick, Corey Davis versus Pittsburgh for 48.
I don't get it. Frankie, if you're listening, please explain. I don't understand the Corey Davis love.
I'm going to try and do it.
Is this just Dawson Knox? He knows he can't pick Dawson Knox this week because he's already done it 3 times, so he's like, well, I'll pivot to someone equally gross. Corey Davis.
I don't know. Maybe he has an insider tip. Maybe he has heard about... He just saw that A.J. Brown missed practice, and he's like, yeah, he's out, boom, just throw
it up the time zone and watched 14 million futures and saw that Corey Davis pops in all of them. He's like, well, that's locks it. Hey, here I go.
Yeah. He is not a great price. He's almost the same as Deebo. There's a lot of other guys in his range that we like.
Yeah, we were talking about that pre-show.
There's
so many other guys that are around 4K.
And as Ian said, that Pittsburgh and just that whole division has scary. Pittsburgh especially, the defenses in that division are scary. I think the Titans have a legit chance to win it. They look good, but there's a reason why I'd rather be on the Pittsburgh side of this one.
Sure. Guys that are going around him. Deebo Samuel at 5K, Cole Beasley at 4.9, Christian Kirk at 4.9, Keelan Cole at 4.7, Mike Williams at 4.7, Tim Patrick at 4.6, Adam Humphries at 4.6. So you can get his teammate for $200 cheaper.
Mm.
Yeah, I'm hashtag not in on that play. Marvin Jones at 4.4. What about your picks, Vitali?
To bring it to mine, I went a little bit different from Frankie. For my starts, I went with T.J. Hawkinson against Atlanta. As we said, we do like Detroit against Atlanta.
Yeah, they're okay this week.
They're solid, some solid starts and monies. And then I also went with Mike Williams against Jacksonville.
Sure.
I was considering flirting with him with money, but I felt with just leaving him as a start for this one because I feel a little bit more. I like my monies a little bit more.
The big thing you worry about with Mike Williams is that he's just going to hurt himself again.
He's going to get hurt. That's the big worry. I've been a Mike Williams fan forever. He's a touchdown machine. He's a great threat in the red zone.
Yeah.
The talent's there. The body is not.
When he's on the field, he's awesome.
Yes.
He lives life a quarter mile at a time.
Yeah. As is tradition with my love for pass catchers, their shelf life is notoriously short. Josh Gordon, Tyler Eifert, just to name a few. So, moving on to my monies, though, I went with Kyle Allen versus Dallas.
Sure.
You felt gross throwing him out there, but for...
I like him a lot more in DFS, though.
Right. 5,200 against Dallas, who is inept.
And I can stack him with Terry.
Exactly. And there's at least weapons on the other side. They could run it back.
Yep, sure. CeeDee Lamb.
Yeah, any of the receiving options can just
CeeDee Lamb. But I'm fine putting Amari in also.
Yeah, not even for playing. I'm just saying, Michael Gallup's not a sexy play, but he can still help.
I would not run it back with Michael Gallup.
Oh, I'm not talking about I'm not talking about playing them. I'm just talking about these guys can catch a ball and then bring it downfield to get the Dallas offense off the field.
Can Michael Gallup catch a ball? There were a couple of hidden numbers against the Cardinals.
Listen, Mike McCarthy said
it was like he got new hands installed.
Mike McCarthy said he's a wide receiver 1, all right?
That's like when John Farrell was saying that the Red Sox had 5 number 1 starters.
We did. It was just not a number 1 compared to everyone else. All right, and going off of my cheap quarterback, I went with a nice spicy pick. I'm going with Alvin Kamara versus Carolina. I was waffling a bit on the price because he is $79, so he's a big chunk of your budget. But
yeah, at $79, he needs to hit 3.5, 4 times his value to pay off.
Yeah, so with Michael Thomas missing practice, could potentially not play or come out and just be a smokescreen. I think he's going to feast against one of the worst defenses on the ground. This is PPR, so he's getting even more per catch.
They haven't been able to stop Kenyon Drake, who is notoriously strong as a running back.
Yes. He's just not strong in actual moving the ball forward. I bet he can bench press a lot. Like, he can lift that ball so good. Like,
He never gets tired.
yeah. Kamara has just been on fire this season, and I'm usually the one looking for when the fire stops, but I'm sorry, not against a defense like this.
Yeah.
Not in this kind of a matchup with
It's not going out this week.
yeah, Drew Brees has been using him and just looking like, away from everyone else. It's been like 2 targets, 2 different people a game, and I think Kamara's just going to feast.
I especially like that pairing because if you're using Kamara because of how expensive he is, you do need to be finding value in your lineups. You can't just plug Kamara and all of the other top plays in as well. So I especially like that pairing because there's probably going to be a lot of lineups that have Kyle Allen and Alvin Kamara in them to make the money work.
Yeah.
So I think those are good plays there. For me, I did T. Higgins versus Cleveland and Matthew Stafford versus Atlanta as my starts. I love both of them this week. T. Higgins has been legit since he broke out a few weeks ago. He looks like he's Joe Burrow's favorite target on the field. He's been the most consistent guy in that offense. I don't expect that to stop this week against Cleveland, who isn't great against the pass at all. And he has the advantage of not being the official top guy on the depth chart. So he's going to be drawn. He'll probably be drawn like the nickel corner, or at best the second best corner. They still have AJ Green, they still have Tyler Boyd. So Denzel Ward's not going to be on him. I am all in on T. Higgins this week. I think he is. He honestly, because I'm a waffle. I have him in several leagues as well because I believed in him hard this year as well. I've been trying to find who I'm going to bench this week. And in our primary league, I currently have Deontay Johnson on the bench. I'm probably going to end up having to make a hard decision there. But T. Higgins is someone who he's my only guy where I'm like, I don't see how I can bench him with how well he's doing. I don't want to say must start for me, but he's getting pretty close to that because of his volume. You have to start him range. If Burrows targets him heavily again this week, then I'm probably moving him into my top 24 wide receivers. So I'm all in on T. Higgins. I think he's a fantastic start this week. And then Stafford, we talked about with the Atlanta game. He's going to go bananas against that team, or he should at least. He has all of the receivers in the world that he needs to score against them. We've seen Stafford be able to throw for big yardage and lots of touchdowns before. He's locked and loaded. And then in conjunction with that, pivoting to another Detroit player that I love, Kenny Golladay is very underpriced, $6,700 this week for what you're probably going to get out of him versus Atlanta. It's really easy for Kenny to pay off $67. Based on what he can do. He would have paid that off last week on DraftKings, basically, or very close to it. And last week, he just got over 100 yards. He got four catches for 105 and a touchdown, I believe, last week, which got him very close to paying that off regardless. Now he gets a softer pass defense. They're 30th against the pass. And they're actually going to be able to, pace them and keep up. So Detroit's going to have to keep throwing. He's not just going to catch 4 balls this week. I just don't see how he doesn't pay off. I'm looking at his stat line right now. Last week, 6 targets, 4 receptions, 105 yards, 17.5 fantasy points, no touchdowns. He gets in the end zone once, he's already making you head. And if he gets in twice, which he could easily do, that's week winning numbers right there. And then for my other guy, less analysis on this one. It's just I really like where the targets are going, and Cincinnati is really bad against the tight end. Start Austin Hooper this week. He's 4K. He's great in DFS formats if you want to punt, but you don't want to punt quite down to James O'Shaughnessy. You want some consistency at the position. You're not like, well, hope he gets a single catch this game.
Yeah.
Austin Hooper is in a really good spot this week matchup-wise. He's been getting consistent targets from Baker, and he doesn't need much to pay off, especially in full-point PPR. So I'm fine rolling him out there. I expect him to get, 5 catches, somewhere around 50 to 70 yards, and if he finds his way into the end zone, you're happy.
Fair.
And then let me just jump down to Jeff's starts here. I'll rattle those off real fast. Jeff picked Laviska Shenault versus the Chargers and Hunter Henry versus Jacksonville as his starts of the week. And he picked Terry McLaurin versus Dallas at $5,800 and Tyler Boyd versus Cleveland at $5,400 as his money picks of the week. I'm not big on Boyd, but I do really like Terry on DraftKings this week, so I think that Jeff's got some solid picks in there.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Vital, you want to take us away with the streaming or stashing defense of the week?
Oh, let me go ahead and get that pulled over. So for this week, if I can get that pulled up. So looking at next week, I was kind of going back and forth. I think the clear one is the Chiefs.
If you can get them, yeah.
If you can get them. I mean, to be fair, they're only 57.9% owned.
So about half leagues.
Yeah, so about half. Like I said, I think you should make that about 90 easily. But I'm more interested. Who are you looking at? Because that's, like I said, my eyes on him. But I'm going through, and there's a couple of guys who are jumping off the page. I'm wondering where you're looking.
So I really like the Buccaneers versus the Giants if you can get them. I don't know if you can, though.
Mm-hmm.
Outside of that, the other one that I'm pretty interested in is Rams versus Dolphins. I know Rams are likely rostered in most leagues, but it's one of the issues with this upcoming week is that most of the streaming defenses are rostered, but the Rams, if you can get your hands on them, are my top, honestly, over the Chiefs. Because of how good the Rams have looked, and they get, literally first-time rookie starter Tua coming onto the field, I think the Rams could feast in this one. They are only 75% rostered, so they're out there in a quarter of leagues. They're who I would be targeting overall. If you can't get your hands on them, though, like you said, the Chiefs are a really good option. The Titans are getting healthier on defense, so I think they could be an interesting option versus the Bengals.
Yeah, I mean, overall, looking at the slate for next week, there's not a lot of the good matchups are going to defenses that are scooped up, or we have Cowboys and Eagles next week, so
yeah.
I don't want either defense in that one, especially since it's Sunday night games.
That's one where I wouldn't be opposed to you picking up and stashing the Eagles right now, just in case, if you have that bench spot for it. Because let's say the Cowboys go out there and look really bad against Washington, then I think the Eagles are in play versus the Cowboys. If Andy Dalton can't move the ball against Washington, suddenly the Eagles become an interesting streaming option for me because the Cowboys might become an offense you want to target. So that's actually one where I would go ahead and stash the Eagles if I'm desperate for a starter next week and just see how they do. Because if they don't do well, you can just cut them.
Fair.
All right, well, that'll do it for the Countdown Show for this week. Join us next week as we bring you the Week 7 wrap-up and our Week 8 waiver picks, and we hope you all have the best of luck this weekend. Adios.